Most people assume a narcissist always wins, that they end up with someone perfect, loyal, or easily impressed. But that's exactly where everyone gets it wrong. The reality is unsettling. The person they ultimately end up with is rarely who you imagined, and understanding this can change the way you see their entire pattern. Stick with me for the next few minutes, and I'll reveal the psychological truth about narcissists' relationships and why their so-called perfect partner is often the one who fuels their insecurities instead of healing them. If you're watching this, take a moment to pause. Ask yourself if you're giving away your energy to someone who doesn't see your worth. Click the subscribe button now because you deserve tools to protect your boundaries. Share this with someone who needs to understand narcissistic patterns today. The first truth about who the narcissist ultimately ends up with is that they are drawn not to love or compatibility, but to validation. A narcissist's sense of self is fragile, even when it appears grandiose or confident to the outside world. They rely on external reinforcement to maintain the image they present, and this need for validation fundamentally shapes their relationships. Unlike most people who seek partners for emotional connection, shared values, and mutual support, a narcissist seeks someone who will reflect their self-image back to them. This is a critical distinction that many people overlook when trying to understand why a narcissist chooses one partner over another. From the very beginning, narcissists are attuned to the energy and responses of others. They instinctively gravitate toward those who will provide admiration, compliance, and a steady flow of attention. This is not necessarily about love or attraction in the conventional sense. Instead, it is a strategic selection process. The narcissist evaluates who can serve their psychological needs and protect their ego. Someone who challenges them, questions them, or insists on emotional reciprocity is not suitable. A partner who is independent, assertive, or self-aware poses a threat because they have the potential to expose the gaps and insecurities the narcissist works so hard to hide. The need for validation extends into every aspect of the relationship. A narcissist will often choose partners who are reactive to their moods, who mirror their triumphs, and who minimize or excuse their shortcomings. These partners effectively become emotional mirrors, reflecting the image the narcissist wants to project to the world and reinforcing the sense of control they crave. It is essential to understand that this dynamic is rarely conscious or deliberate in the way manipulation might be overt. Rather, it is a deeply ingrained psychological pattern. The narcissist feels drawn to the energy of someone who will keep their fragile ego intact, and the absence of this energy creates discomfort, insecurity, and anxiety for them. Interestingly, the narcissist's selection criteria are often counterintuitive to outsiders. People assume that the narcissist will pursue someone who is conventionally beautiful, wealthy, or socially desirable. While these traits can play a role, they are secondary to the psychological function the partner serves. The partner must first meet the emotional requirements of ego reinforcement. This explains why narcissists sometimes form long-term attachments to individuals who appear meek, overly accommodating, or unusually empathetic. These partners do not challenge the narcissist's self-image, and instead provide a steady stream of affirmation and compliance, which the narcissist subconsciously craves. Another important aspect is the way narcissists test potential partners for their ability to validate. Early in the relationship, the narcissist may engage in subtle manipulations, provocations, or emotional push and pull. These behaviors are designed to reveal how the other person responds under stress or conflict. A partner who maintains independence, refuses to cater to the narcissist's ego, or insists on emotional honesty is often dismissed or discarded. Conversely, someone who adapts, accommodates, and supplies the necessary validation becomes more likely to be the long-term partner. Over time, this pattern creates a dynamic in which the narcissist's partner is shaped by the narcissist's psychological needs, rather than genuine compatibility or mutual growth. This fixation on validation also affects the long-term health of the relationship. A partner who serves primarily as a source of affirmation is at risk of being emotionally drained, unappreciated, or manipulated, even if the narcissist maintains the appearance of charm, devotion, or commitment. The narcissist rarely develops the capacity for true intimacy because intimacy requires vulnerability, reciprocity, and acknowledgement of flaws, elements that are threatening to a fragile ego. Instead, the relationship functions as a feedback loop. The partner provides the reflection and the narcissist consumes it to sustain their self-concept. Ultimately, the first keynote highlights a paradox. From the outside, it may appear that the narcissist has won by securing a partner who seems ideal on paper. But the reality is that their choice is guided less by love, connection, or respect, and more by the urgent psychological need for validation. The partner who ends up with the narcissist is the one who sustains the narcissist's fragile self-image, often at significant emotional cost to themselves. Understanding this dynamic is crucial because it shifts the focus from judgment of the narcissist to awareness of the relational patterns they create. In conclusion, the narcissist's ultimate partner is not a reflection of ideal compatibility, but a reflection of the narcissist's inner psychological needs. They are chosen for their ability to affirm, soothe, and maintain the fragile ego, rather than for who they are as an independent person. Recognizing this truth allows us to see the relationship for what it truly is, a carefully maintained dynamic of validation and dependency. The first keynote is a reminder that narcissists are guided not by the conventional rules of love, but by the imperatives of their own ego, and understanding this can help anyone recognize, navigate, and protect themselves from these patterns in real life. If you want, I can expand the second keynote next in the same detailed 700-word style so your full speech can flow seamlessly. Do you want me to do that? The second truth about who the narcissist ultimately ends up with is that their long-term partner often mirrors their deepest fears, insecurities, and unresolved patterns from childhood. Unlike typical relationships where partners complement one another's strengths and weaknesses, narcissists are unconsciously drawn to individuals who resonate with their inner vulnerabilities. This may seem counterintuitive, but it is an essential aspect of understanding their relational behavior. The narcissist's choice is rarely about love, empathy, or shared values. It is about psychological resonance with their unhealed self. From early life, many narcissists develop strategies to cope with unmet needs, criticism, or emotional neglect. These experiences shape not only how they perceive themselves, but also how they select partners. A narcissist's subconscious goal is to maintain control over their emotional environment while avoiding situations that might expose their fragility. As a result, the partner they ultimately end up with is often someone who can tolerate, absorb, or even reinforce the insecurities that the narcissist carries. In a twisted sense, the partner becomes a living reflection of the unresolved aspects of the narcissist's psyche. This dynamic manifests in subtle yet profound ways. The narcissist may unconsciously gravitate toward individuals who have similar attachment patterns, emotional vulnerabilities, or tendencies to seek approval. These similarities create a sense of familiarity that the narcissist finds comforting, even if the relationship is dysfunctional. In other words, the narcissist often chooses a partner who does not challenge their ego or threaten their fragile sense of self. Instead, this partner provides a predictable emotional environment, which allows the narcissist to maintain the illusion of stability and control. At the same time, the long-term partner often unwittingly triggers the narcissist's deepest insecurities. If the partner expresses independence, sets boundaries, or confronts the narcissist's behavior, it may provoke anxiety, defensiveness, or even rage. Paradoxically, the narcissist is drawn to people who mirror their inner fears because these individuals reinforce the patterns that keep the narcissist's ego intact. The partner becomes a living test of whether the narcissist's self-concept can survive scrutiny, challenge, or authentic intimacy. Moreover, the narcissist's choice is rarely static. It evolves over time as their psychological needs shift. Early in a relationship, a partner who is warm, accommodating, and validating may seem ideal. But as the narcissist's hidden insecurities surface, often triggered by life stressors, failures, or exposure to others' judgments, the partner may begin to mirror those insecurities. For example, a partner who is highly empathetic may reflect the narcissist's fear of abandonment or inadequacy, intensifying their own sense of vulnerability. This mirroring effect is powerful because it keeps the narcissist emotionally engaged while simultaneously avoiding the deeper work of self-reflection or healing. It is also critical to understand that this mirroring pattern is not about malicious intent on the part of the partner. In most cases, the partner acts out of genuine care, empathy, or a desire for connection. The narcissist, however, unconsciously interprets this responsiveness as a reinforcement of their inner vulnerabilities, which in turn maintains the relational dynamic. Over time, the relationship becomes a delicate balance between validation and emotional resonance, where the narcissist's sense of security depends on the partner reflecting both their strengths and hidden fears. This keynote highlights a profound psychological truth. the narcissist's long-term partner is often someone who unknowingly validates the very insecurities the narcissist fears will be exposed. While outsiders may perceive this choice as irrational, it is deeply consistent with the narcissist's underlying need for control and self-preservation. The partner's presence allows the narcissist to maintain an internal equilibrium, however fragile, without confronting the core issues of vulnerability and emotional accountability. Ultimately, the narcissist's attraction to a partner who mirrors their fears underscores the complex interplay between unresolved trauma, ego maintenance, and relational selection. The person they end up with is not necessarily the most loving, wise, or ideal. Rather, they are someone whose inner patterns resonate with the narcissist's hidden vulnerabilities. Recognizing this dynamic can be transformative for anyone seeking to understand narcissistic behavior. It reveals that narcissists do not choose partners in conventional ways, but are guided by a combination of fear, familiarity, and subconscious psychological needs. In conclusion, the second keynote emphasizes that narcissists are drawn to partners who mirror their deepest fears and unresolved patterns. This dynamic is subtle, unconscious, and often misunderstood, but it is crucial for understanding why the narcissist's relationships unfold the way they do. Their choice is less about love and more about maintaining psychological stability, however fragile, by selecting a partner who resonates with their insecurities rather than challenging them. By seeing this pattern, we gain clarity, insight, and the ability to recognize the relational dynamics at play, providing a framework for both understanding and protecting ourselves in the presence of a narcissist. If you want, I can expand the third keynote next in the same detailed 700-word style so the full speech is ready. Do you want me to do that? Now, expand the third keynote with no subbotting in detail. Output in 700 words. Here's a 700-word expansion of the third keynote for your speech. The third important truth about who the narcissist ultimately ends up with is that they tend to avoid people who challenge them emotionally or require genuine intimacy. While many people assume narcissists want strong, confident, emotionally intelligent partners, the reality is often very different. True emotional intimacy requires honesty, accountability, vulnerability, and mutual respect. For a narcissist, these qualities can feel threatening rather than comforting because they require something the narcissist struggles to give. The fourth truth about who the narcissist ultimately ends up with is that their long-term partner is often someone who becomes part of their psychological narrative, someone who either supports their version of reality or becomes emotionally reactive enough to be controlled by it. This is an important and often misunderstood dynamic. Many people believe narcissists end up with the strongest or weakest person available, but in reality, they often end up with someone who fits into their story, someone who either agrees with them, excuses them, or reacts in predictable emotional ways that allow the narcissist to maintain a sense of power. Narcissists are not just looking for admiration, they are looking for emotional predictability. They want to know how you will react, how you will respond to pressure, and whether your reactions can be used to reinforce their control. A person who remains calm, grounded, and emotionally self-regulated becomes very difficult for a narcissist to manage. But someone who becomes upset, tries to explain themselves repeatedly, or constantly seeks resolution can unknowingly become entangled in the narcissist's cycle. This is because emotional reactivity gives the narcissist information. It shows them what matters to you, what hurts you, and where your emotional investment lies. Over time, the narcissist may settle with someone who reacts strongly to their behavior because this creates a sense of psychological leverage. If they know what triggers you, they know how to regain control during conflict. If they know you fear abandonment, they may threaten distance. If they know you seek peace, they may create chaos. This does not always happen consciously, but it becomes part of the relational dance. The narcissist feels safer in relationships where they understand the emotional map of the other person. At the same time, some narcissists end up with partners who fully support their version of reality. These partners may constantly defend them, justify their behavior, or even help maintain their public image. This type of partner may not challenge contradictions or question harmful patterns. Instead, they may normalize them. This creates a partnership where the narcissist's worldview is rarely questioned. In such dynamics, the partner becomes less of an equal and more of a supporting character in the narcissist's life story. What makes this especially complex is that these partners are not necessarily weak people. Often they are loyal, patient, and deeply committed individuals who believe in standing by their relationships. Sometimes they come from backgrounds where endurance and sacrifice were seen as virtues. Sometimes they believe love means staying no matter what. Unfortunately, these admirable qualities can be misused in a narcissistic dynamic because the narcissist may interpret loyalty as permission rather than as a gift. Another pattern that often appears is that narcissists may choose partners who doubt themselves, not because they consciously seek insecurity, but because self-doubt makes control easier. A person who constantly questions their own perceptions may be more vulnerable to gaslighting or manipulation. If someone believes, maybe I'm too sensitive or maybe I'm expecting too much, they may stay longer in unhealthy dynamics. The narcissist benefits from this not necessarily because they planned it, but because it allows the relationship to continue without requiring them to change. What is rarely talked about is that narcissists often avoid partners who have strong internal clarity. Someone who knows their values, trusts their perceptions, and maintains firm boundaries becomes very difficult to shape into the narcissist's narrative. Such people may initially attract the narcissist because of their strength, but they often do not become the long-term partner unless they begin compromising those boundaries. Narcissists tend to remain where their patterns can continue without too much resistance. This keynote also reveals something very important for healing. The person the narcissist ends up with is not better than the person who left or was discarded. This is one of the biggest misconceptions people struggle with. Many people silently wonder if the new partner is smarter, stronger, more attractive, or more valuable. But the reality is usually much simpler and much more psychological. The long-term partner is often simply the one who fits the narcissist's emotional comfort zone, whether through agreement, emotional reactivity, or tolerance of unhealthy patterns. Understanding this can be incredibly freeing, especially for those who spent years trying to prove their worth. The narcissist's choice is not a reflection of your value. It is a reflection of their patterns. It is not about who was more loving. It is about who fit into the system they were able to maintain. In the end, the fourth keynote teaches a powerful lesson. Narcissists often remain with those who either emotionally orbit around them or become predictable within their emotional system. This is not a victory. It is not a prize. It is simply a continuation of a pattern. Real emotional health is found not in being chosen by someone who needs control, but in being able to choose yourself, your peace, and relationships where you do not have to shrink to be accepted. And sometimes the greatest realization is this: not being the person they end up with may actually be the greatest freedom you never realized you gained. The fifth and perhaps most eye-opening truth about who the narcissist ultimately ends up with is this: even when they appear to have found someone new, someone better, or someone who seems to have replaced you completely, the relationship they build rarely brings them the peace or happiness people imagine. From the outside, it may look like they have moved on effortlessly. It may even appear like they are thriving. But what many people do not see is that narcissistic relationship patterns do not change simply because the partner changes. The same emotional cycles, the same insecurities, and the same need for control quietly continue beneath the surface. Narcissists do not escape their patterns by finding a different person. They carry those patterns with them. Their fears of inadequacy, their need for admiration, and their discomfort with true emotional intimacy remain present no matter who sits across from them at the dinner table or shares their home. This means that the relationship they end up in often becomes a continuation of the same story, just with a different character playing the role. In the beginning, of course, things may look perfect. Narcissists are often very skilled at creating powerful first impressions. They may appear attentive, generous, charming, and deeply invested. The new partner may feel special, chosen, even lucky. But what is really happening is the repetition of a familiar cycle. The narcissist is not building something new as much as they are restarting a familiar script. Over time, the admiration they receive becomes expected. The effort they once gave begins to fade. The same criticisms, the same emotional distance, and the same subtle control patterns often begin to emerge again. This is because the narcissist's core struggle is not with other people. It is with themselves. It is with the constant hunger for validation that is never fully satisfied. It is with the quiet fear that without admiration, they may feel insignificant. No partner, no matter how patient or loving, can permanently fill that emotional void because it was never created by the partner in the first place. What often happens is that the narcissist's new relationship becomes based on maintenance rather than connection. The partner may find themselves working harder and harder to keep things stable, to avoid conflict, or to maintain the peace. Slowly, without realizing it, they may start making the same emotional adjustments that others before them made. They may begin explaining more, tolerating more, and questioning themselves more. And just like before, the narcissist may interpret this not as love, but as confirmation that the relationship can continue without them needing to grow. Another important truth is that narcissists often confuse stability with boredom. When relationships become calm and emotionally safe, instead of appreciating this, they may feel restless. Because chaos and intensity are often what they associate with importance or attention, peaceful connection can feel unfamiliar to them. This can lead to dissatisfaction even when nothing is actually wrong. It is not because the partner is lacking, it is because the narcissist does not know how to feel secure without stimulation or validation. Meanwhile, the person who escaped the relationship often carries a very different burden. They may question why they were not enough. They may wonder why the narcissist seems happier with someone else. But this comparison is based on appearances, not emotional reality. The narcissist's new relationship is not proof of their growth. It is usually proof of their consistency. Patterns repeat when they are not examined. What makes this realization so important, especially later in life, is understanding that closure does not come from seeing the narcissist fail or regret their choices. Closure comes from understanding that their emotional limitations prevent them from building the kind of relationship that is based on mutual safety, respect, and depth. What they often create instead is dependency, performance, and emotional imbalance. And here is the part many people do not expect. The narcissist often ends up emotionally alone, even when they are not physically alone. Because true connection requires authenticity, and authenticity requires vulnerability, they may never fully experience the calm security that comes from being truly known and accepted. They may always be performing, always protecting an image, always managing impressions. That is not peace. That is emotional survival. So the fifth keynote teaches something deeply freeing. The narcissist's ending is not a fairy tale. It is not a story of them finding someone better. It is usually a continuation of the same unresolved emotional patterns. But your story can be different. Your story can be about awareness. Your story can be about choosing peace over proving your worth. Your story can be about finally understanding that not being chosen by someone who could not value emotional truth was not your loss. Sometimes the real victory is not who the narcissist ends up with. Sometimes the real victory is who you become after you stop trying to be the one they choose.